have a computer screen which has the information that you sent us, the agenda, which fills my screen. Then there's just a small picture of you to the side. I can't seem to open it up anymore. Or is that just going to depend upon other people checking in?
Right, we're the only two on right now.
Okay,
And I'm sharing my screen with the agenda, so that's why it's filling up your screen.
okay, I don't see myself on there at all.
You don't have your video on, it doesn't look like. So if you go to your toolbar where it has like the mute, video, security, participants, remote, all that stuff, do you see that?
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
There it is. Okay, now
There we go.
all right.
Perfect.
Then I'll get this. I'm going to get a book to elevate this computer.
Yeah.
How are you, Laura?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
I'm working on getting our meeting streaming onto the website. Several steps to get that done. There we go. Looks like we are live. It was a relief when that's done because we can't have the meeting unless it's doing that. I'm always worried with technology. You just never know, right? When it's going to work the way you want it to and when it's not.
Can you hear me, Laura?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to make you co-host.
Okay. I erased my board so it didn't look messy behind me.
Now, how will you remember?
Well, those are the
Okay.
ones,
Funny.
those were the ones that I already did. So
Oh, okay.
I took them off. Sorry, I gave you heart failure earlier.
That's okay.
It's totally my fault.
Good
I'm
morning.
glad the whole packet's there.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you all?
We're
Time to
good.
wake up.
Shenley, you showed up as Aunt Shenley when you first joined. Were you on a family Zoom call earlier?
Well, my little sister in Florida, she was adopting 4 children from foster care, and it was the final court hearing, and so our whole family showed up, and we wanted to like say, you know, we're aunts and uncles and grandparents.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's
Wow.
dear, very dear.
Are they all siblings? The
Yeah,
4?
so it's a sibling group, so of course they wanted to keep them together.
What are their ages?
It's 9, 7, 6, and 4.
Oh, your sister's something else.
Wow.
That's wonderful.
Well, she couldn't have children, and so she was really wanting children.
Well, our son is adopted. We adopted him late, and that's quite a journey. Well, I tried to drive around yesterday and see all of the available places for art. And sometimes I'm wondering if I'm on the wrong commission, because I really am concerned about Cherry Hill's adherence to what they think is a rural style. And sometimes my husband pushes my button and tells me I'm in charge of minor matters, which might be true, but is there anybody in this city that holds people to a consistent aesthetic? For example, I just get ticked by all the people that come in and throw mechanicals on any corner, any way they want, and leave. You know, like Xfinity and Comcast, they put all their equipment in those boxes. They're all different. Put
Oh,
them in prime areas. And for example, in Cherrymore, they put a box on the corner of University, and this was, you know, right after we moved in, which was a long time ago, but we put pressure on them to do something with it. And they built a little brick wall around it. Then they said they'd landscape it, and they put 4-inch pots of something around it and never attended to them. But in all of these available art places, they seem to be somewhat kind of junked up by these things. And is there anybody that can tell these people to clean up their act and put something in an area where it's not going to be so prime?
we don't have a lot of leeway on that as the city. I think a lot of that is federally regulated, that we have to allow those things to be in the right of way and that kind of thing. We do have some stuff in our code that regulates that, and they do have to go through a permit process, I believe. But our public works director and community development director would know more about that than I do.
What about
And I know that it was brought up earlier in the commission, because I know some places they do art projects on those boxes, like they get painted. And so that was brought up at some point. It didn't really go anywhere. But if that's something that we're interested in pursuing, we can try doing that again.
Well, I'm probably the only one that gets concerned about things like that. But on Littleton Boulevard, the city let people paint a box in front of my husband's law office, and it's horrible. It's just horrible. And as I say, I don't know enough about what happens in Cherry Hills, but I wish there was a more consistent aesthetic for some of these areas where art would be possible.
Yeah, as far as the boxes go, I don't know that we have too much control, unfortunately, over how they look, but I know we do have some stuff in our code.
What about signs? Like I am in charge of minor matters. The sign in front of Cherry Hills Village Elementary School was horrible for a long time. Then they put up a new one, a brick one, but it is so poorly designed. is a triangular shape at the, or a slanted shape at the top. It has a low letters on the bottom, so the lights that are there interfere and you can't landscape it. It's just a brick slab with big lights in front of it. And does anybody have any control at all for design?
Not for that sort of thing. So we do have sign regulations as far as where they can go, how big they can be, that sort of thing. But as far as how they look, I don't believe we have anything. Same as for homes, really. It's sort of a community rates versus property rates argument. You know, someone should be able to put up what they want in a lot of cases. So the city doesn't get too involved in how things look, more in where they are, how big they are, how, you know, if they encroach into the setback, those kinds of things, but not as far as the aesthetic. Generally, we don't get involved in that.
Don't I have big problems? I just drive around and notice these things. And
Good morning.
Good
Can
morning,
you hear
Dave.
me? You can hear
Yes.
me okay? All right. I was just checking. Good morning.
I just wanted to say that in Dallas, we didn't like the park that was behind us. And so all the neighbors got together and we sponsored the park. And then we were granted, it was expensive, but we got to decide on the landscaping and the tree trimming. And we were able to put a piece of artwork there. So, in this community, people might be interested in rallying and sponsoring the park or the area.
well, another problem that I have, and this time together is not about my problems, but I find University in Quincy kind of central to Cherry Hills, and there's a lot of traffic that goes through there. I wish we could get more coordination for the country club, Cherrymore, where I live, and I guess it's the city to put together kind of a unified statement with their floral, with whatever is going on there. And then the elementary school that is just pitiful, that corner. I don't know why there can't be some imagination applied to the crossing there. And for a city that says they're all about trees, I wish they could line trees along that playground up University. If you take just a look at that corner by itself, it really is ugly. So anyway, don't know what got me started, but before I think we can put nice artwork in, I wish we had a more common aesthetic that cleaned up some of these other areas.
Maybe we could fundraise for them and buy them the trees from the Cherry Hills Village tree planting program.
You know, that's a good idea. As I said, I just don't know how the city operates in that regard, but I think it would be the schools landscape beautifully along Quincy. I wish they could just landscape or put trees or something between that fence and the children are out on the playground. But it looks pretty industrial on that corner if you isolate it just by looking at it. And I think we could make a very nice statement for the city if those four corners came together with some nice artwork.
I miss that Searles for sure.
You what?
I miss that James Searles.
Oh, I love that. Every morning that I went out, that had so much spirit. But it was in a very nice landscaped area also.
Mm-hmm. We borrowed one of his sculptures, put in our house when we were trying to sell it in Dallas.
Well, I wish he could come back to Cherry Hills. I really enjoyed him. Did you bring the sculpture with you?
No, we had to give it back.
Good morning, Kathy. Good morning, Pamela. You guys want to check your audio?
Morning.
I think you're both on mute. If you want to unmute yourselves.
Yep, you're right. Good morning, everyone. Sorry about that.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Pam.
Hi. There we go.
Well, I miss Allison already.
Yeah, she's great.
Mm-hmm.
Good for her, though. It's fun to do something new.
Is her background antiques?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she studied some Antiques Art History, something like that was her undergrad, if I recall correctly. So, and she had worked for, I think, some auction houses or galleries before. So,
At the end of our meeting last week, someone was talking about a baby. Does she have a child?
not that I know of.
Oh, okay.
No,
I
she
was wondering-
watches a lot of kids. She like nannies and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think, yeah, she's married or has kids yet. Yeah.
Sarah, if you want to unmute yourself and check your audio. Kendall, can you unmute yourself and check your audio, please?
Hello, testing.
Oh,
Hello.
hello. Good
Hello.
morning.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning. Happy New Year.
Are we ready?
We are ready. We have everybody and we are recording and streaming, so we are good to go.
All right. Good morning. The Monday, January 25th, 2021 regular meeting of the Cherry Hills Village Art Commission will now come to order at 9:32. Guess the first thing is the roll call. Is
Yes. Co-Chair Smith,
here.
Commissioner Hall,
Here?
Commissioner Finger,
Here.
Commissioner Morrow,
Here.
Commissioner Smith,
Oh, here. I don't,
Commissioner Anderson.
Here.
All right. Guess we won't do the Pledge of Allegiance. And there's no other audience participation this morning.
Correct.
So we'll move on. The consent agenda, the approval
So
of,
actually, sorry, Dave, I stuck something right before the consent agenda.
you what?
I stuck an item right before the consent agenda to appoint a
you
new
did?
co-chair. I thought it'd be
Oh.
better to just get that out of the way at the beginning of the meeting.
Oh, the co-chairs, yes. The appointment of a co-chair.
Right.
All right. How do we go about that? Would someone
Yeah, so
like to
slightly awkward
volunteer?
situation.
Be a
Somebody
co-chair?
has to appoint somebody or volunteer. Right now we have co-chairs. We can have a chair and vice chair. That would be the normal, but last time you guys decided you wanted co-chairs, and that seems to be working out pretty well. So if anyone would like to volunteer or appoint somebody to be an additional co-chair with Dave, that's what we're looking for right now.
I move to appoint Pamela Hall to the position of the Art Commission co-chair. And this is Commissioner Finger.
I would second that.
I had a feeling that was going to happen. That's fine.
All right, so we have a motion and a second, and I'll just do a roll call since we're on Zoom. Co-chair Smith?
Here.
Yeah. Oh, just a yes or no? Yes, and then Commissioner Hall, you get to vote on your own appointment.
I guess.
Commissioner Finger,
Yes.
Commissioner Morrow,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
yes.
Commissioner Anderson.
Yes.
All right, Pamela is our new co-chair. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Pamela.
You're welcome,
Appreciate it.
Dave.
Okay, now we can move on to the approval of the minutes from November 30th.
Yes.
Does anybody have any, excuse me, additions or deletions? No?
No.
Okay, so
We have a motion to approve.
I motion.
I guess we'll approve the minutes.
I second.
Excuse me. Okay,
Okay, so I'll do a roll call on that. Co-Chair Schmidt,
yes,
Co-Chair Hall,
Yes.
Commissioner Finger,
Yes,
Commissioner Morrow,
Yes,
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson.
Yes.
okay, the next is items removed from the consent agenda. Uh, Which I don't, do we have any that I'm aware of?
No.
No?
Nope.
Okay. So in the unfinished business, the first item is the art show Colorado Through the Lens, the rescheduled reception. Where do we stand on that, Laura? I don't know. Kind of on hold, I guess, right?
With City Hall, it's still closed to the public right now. We're open to appointments. So it depends on how far out the commission would like to reschedule the reception. We talked at the last meeting about extending the photography exhibit a few months. So at this point, we just need direction on if you do want to extend the photography exhibit, how long you'd like to extend it, and approximately when we'd like to hold the reception.
okay, I think that it's just to forgo the reception, because even if City Hall opens up, it'll probably just open up at a reduced rate, and we could just re-notify the people that had already RSVP'd. And I don't think we're going to need alcohol for that teeny of a reception. I really don't want to go through another state fee and of money spent there. I think we could just do a nice reception if City Hall opens up at a future time.
Okay, that would certainly simplify things for staff to not have to re-advertise it and figure out with the slots, and we only have so many left, and how do we fit everyone else in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yeah, I think we just play that by ear. When is it supposed to? The exhibit is supposed to end?
April, I believe.
So if we could extend it to maybe May, that would be great. If that would be okay with everyone else, and then the Beardsley piece, that painting would go back up in City Hall until we go to our next project at the end of the year. And that might be a better time to have a reception and get a liquor license when we do our next exhibit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I
So-
agree with that.
So Laura, or just if we could put down that we want to just extend the exhibit to the end of May, that would be great.
Okay.
We won't do any advertising because we have the addresses or emails for the people who did want to come to the reception. So we could always just notify them separately.
how large was that group that responded?
Let's see, we had 13 slots per time and we had 4 slots left, so 22 people.
That's pretty good.
We could probably get more.
I should say most of all the ones for the one-time slot were from a single artist's family.
It would be nice if it was wide open, but I
So-
just have a feeling by May, we're still going to be in very limited capacity for anyone coming into City Hall.
We'll touch base with the photographers and just make sure that they're okay with extending it to the end of May. We've already let them know that it was possible that we were going to extend it, and they were all fine with that. So we'll just stay in touch with them so they know what our plans are.
Okay, thank you.
So at the end of May, we'll put the Beardsley back up. Is that the idea?
Or beginning of June.
Yeah, the beginning of June.
Okay.
So do we want to set
Anything else on that?
Sorry, I was just going to ask if we want to set a date for the reception at the end of May, or Kathy, you think it'd be better to play that by ear?
I think we just still play that by ear.
All right. Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else on the art show? No?
Nope.
Okay, the next item is the, excuse me, the art appraisal. And I think we all agreed on that, but I guess we need a motion to approve.
Yeah, and I just want to point out that after further discussions with the art appraiser, she suggested an amount not to exceed of $1,500. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention because that's a little bit more than we had said last time. But if the commission is fine with that, then yeah, we just need a motion to move forward.
Okay. Would someone like to make the recommended motion?
I'll do it. I move to approve the agreement for the art appraisal services with Becca Sachs LLC and the expenditure of not more than $1,500.
I second.
Okay.
Okay, and I'll do a roll call. Co-Chair Smith?
Yes.
Oh, for a roll call? Co-Chair Smith? Do you want to
I approve.
vote yes? Oh, approve, sorry. Co-Chair Hall?
Yes.
Commissioner Finger?
Yes.
Commissioner Morrow?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
All right. So the next business is the John Mead Park permanent sculpture. I know we've got a long list of artists and that sort of thing. I actually walked out through the park the other day, and boy, it's a pretty open space for sure. There isn't a whole lot of landscaping there, and what is there is obviously very, very young. I don't know. I think anything that we're going to put out there at this point is just going to really stand alone out there. I have mixed emotions that maybe we're advancing a little too soon on that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I had concerns because I look at this item on the agenda and the really sculpture in the budget and trying to mash everything together so it's all cohesive. I think we lose, and I'm going to kind of jump around so I can kind of put this all together. I think we lose the really statue this fall. Is that not correct?
The summer, I believe, July.
And the new commissioners may want to do something different, but way back when we were talking about having art on loan, one of the articles that was in the Wall Street Journal or that we read was that a lot of towns were doing the art on loan to keep their city hall interesting and inviting and something different. And that's what I hope with the that area where really is that's one where we can put the at least hopefully a piece on loan, because as people drive by City Hall, they often don't get to see our wonderful permanent piece in front of the front door, but they're driving by on Quincy, and it would be nice to have every couple of years like, oh, there's something new there, because you get so used to seeing one thing. So we have to, and which is not in the budget, is money for a piece on loan and have money available for a permanent sculpture. So I think before we talk about the permanent sculpture, are we actually going to do another piece on loan out front? Because we'll have to budget, what, Kendall, at least 10,000, 10 to 15 for that?
Yeah, I would say to get a significant enough piece that holds that corner. that would be a good budget. I think that's what we've spent in the past and done
Yeah.
pretty well.
Yeah,
Um,
about like where really is something that would fit in that area that people go, oh, there's a new piece.
Mhm.
So we have to look at that and then go back to the permanent piece. Is it realistic to do a permanent piece this year on that limit? If we take money out and plan on 10 to 15,000 for the piece on loan, that drops our permanent budget down by 15,000.
Mhm.
And so that's where our jumping off point, I think, has to be with budget and what do we want to do this year?
And if I can just add to David, I haven't been down there. Is the park finished then? Is it all completed, or is there still work going on?
Well, it appears to be finished. I don't know. But like I say, there's not many plantings there or anything. It's, I
And
mean, I
is
don't
there
know,
a
it's
pathway?
different than what?
Maybe I need to go do a little site visit and walk around there. It sounds like there's an issue maybe with scale as well. I know we had talked about doing a life-size bronze or something like that, something that would hold. I mean, it sounds like it's a fairly large area, so scale might be an issue. If you put it on the other side of the park, will you be able to see it from the other side of the pond, or is there a walkway where you kind of encounter it? I think you all need to have a pretty good discussion of exactly what kind of piece you want. Is it going to be pedestrian scale, or is it going to be something that you can see from the other end of the park? Is it something that you expect people to kind of climb over all over and that kind of thing? Just we need to kind of grapple with that discussion as well. But I agree with you, Kathy, that the original reason why you all brought me in was to do that, every 2 years find a sculpture and have it be kind of a surprise and something new. And once really goes away, we've lost both of the two sculptures that we had. And then you have to figure out what you want to do with that pad that was poured. Are you going to take it out or put something else there? Can we find something that would fit that pad? There's a lot to grapple with there.
I noticed that some of the pieces are, wide and long that might work right now when there's less landscaping. It might add to the aesthetic. Or I know that residents wanted a more traditional piece, like conservative and not so avant-garde. And also we could what about doing like a progressive sculpture, like first the woman shows up and then the child and then, someone else like a grandparent, like for a bronze, and then it could like grow, just so we could be a part of, the beginning of need and then, grow for the next couple of years.
Oh, I like that idea. I just would like, or, wondering if we could all meet there for a short period of time and kind of walk it together. So we're all kind of on the same page. We've all seen it and we all have an idea. I mean, I drive past it all the time and I still don't really, I need to actually, get out and walk it like you did.
That was actually my thought too. That we
Yeah.
could
It's a great idea.
social distance and walk through it, and even maybe with, I don't know, Laura, maybe with Emily.
Yeah, we can definitely get Emily to give you guys a tour because she's been in charge of that whole project, so she can answer a lot of questions about it.
She would get us up to snuff as far as, what the landscape
Right.
complete, or,
And
when I
Kendall
walked it, I
too,
noticed.
that would be great to have Kendall there.
I would love to be there. And that's where I would love to take some pictures. And, that's the kind of thing that artists will respond to, and get some words from you all about just kind of criteria and words that are inspiring to you. And then that can be something that I hand off to artists later on when we decide what we want to do with the funding. But I do remember that we were absolutely going to go sort of a more conservative, maybe figural kind of route, and that's great. I've actually become acquainted with quite a few more artists that work in that vein since we did that original list. So and there's some great local artists too. So we can kind of keep it in that realm. And I think that there could be the possibility, once you decide how much funding you want to spend, is kind of give people some ideas to propose some sort of artwork that fits your criteria. And an original piece would be great if you could, instead of buying something that's off the shelf. I think it would be really wonderful.
Can somebody, excuse
Sorry,
me,
go ahead.
can somebody explain to me this community support for realism?
I'll go back. So we've had quite a few discussions about the artwork that's been chosen for the rotating art exhibit, and each one has incurred quite a bit of discussion about what this group wants to put forward, and world-class art. We've talked about wanting to make sure that we're engaging lots of artists who are local and the best of the best kind of thing. And then when the permanent piece came up, I think there were lots of recommendations from the public that were more animals and nature based art. Correct me if I'm wrong, everyone. But so there was a lot of suggestion. And so basically, I think there was a lot of discussion on the last approval that we had for the permanent piece, that because we did such an abstract piece in front of the Civic Center, that we would like to do something more figural for the park, and have it be, more of a family friendly thing. Not that the abstract piece isn't family friendly, but I think that was the discussion among the group.
Yeah, and I would suggest it even goes back a little bit further, especially with Emmett Culligan's pieces, rubric in front of the Joint Public Safety Facility in front of the police department there, and then the crew series pieces, the short kind of triangular modular things in the park at Holly and Quincy. We got some a bit of a controversial feedback on those over the years from residents. So I think in general, the commission tends a little bit more towards abstract art, and some of the feedback we've gotten from residents has
They want a
been
little
more in
variety.
support of more realistic art.
Yeah.
I'm just concerned that a park seems to be a place where you want something more engaging, more interactive, more playful. But
well, I think if we have that discussion when we're doing that visit, I'd love to revisit this, because we've had some turnover in the commission. We have a new mayor. I think that a lot of these decisions were made some time ago, so we could have that discussion, and I could kind of guide you guys in that discussion if we were able to do that walk of the space that we're considering.
And we might consider a more realism piece for the sculpture on loan. But I still think we have to go, before we can kind of talk about what are we going to put in the park, we have to have a kind of a budget, a number to go by. Right. And if we don't decide what we're going to do where really is, then we have no clue what we can spend for a permanent piece and how soon we can do it. I mean, I agree. One thing first, we have to make a decision on, are we going to let that place in front of City Hall go blank? Or are we going to start, because if it goes away in June, we have to have Kendall on this immediately, trying to find a piece on loan for us. And what the cost of that is. And then we can come back to the permanent piece in the park, or even another traveling piece, I don't know. But it seems like you have to get one thing anchored down. We have to make a decision of what we're going to do first. And I think that has to be what's going to happen in front of City Hall. And then we can move on.
Yeah,
I agree. I think
I would
that'd be our
agree. Yeah,
first
I would
step.
agree with Kathy as well, especially since, I'd be curious if we ended up raising any more money from our letter, but we're while we're very fortunate that that we didn't lose our funding that we didn't use last year, I'm amazed by that. Is that the case, Jessica, that we haven't lost it?
That is the case. And one of the things that I brought up during the budget presentation to City Council was that the additional funds would be used for a park in John Mead, or a sculpture in John Mead Park.
Oh.
So I would caution us, because that was the original direction from the commission, if we're not going to use it to put a sculpture in John Mead Park, perhaps we don't spend the additional $10,000 we were given by City Council. And if that's something we would like to do next year, then I can go back to City Council again and say, we didn't spend it. We decided to do sculpture on loan instead. And can we have this for 2022?
Right. So if we can ask them, tell them we would earmark that amount really
And-
for sculpture, but because of the timing and also the fact that our fundraising has been handicapped, we want to do something nice in both locations. It makes sense to me it would be a shame to lose that spot in front of City Hall, I think. And also, we tend to be very ambitious about our permanent pieces. And if we could actually be able to do our regular fundraiser, then we would have a nice budget for that.
And I can keep them updated as we go through the process. I would hate to have gone before them at the end of last year and say, can we have this additional money for a sculpture in John Mead Park? And then do that again at the end of this year.
Yes.
So that way, if we have the $10,000 in the budget, I can tell them the exact same thing. We're not spending the money. It's going to roll back into the Parks and Rec Fund where it came from. Can we earmark it for 2022 and see what they say? And obviously it's subject to their approval, but I think it would be better to do that if that's the direction you're leaning.
And hopefully by then too, we'll be engaged on that project. Like we'll have the sculpture on loan piece done and we'll all be focusing on.
And we might have a better idea of cost for a John Mead Park sculpture if there's one that the commission prefers.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why you can't do both, or at least have a line on both it really depends on the size of what you want for John Mead Park, and you could also, potentially turn that into another sculpture on loan site. Turn that into something that's a budget where you have something that changes too.
Mhm.
So I think all those are things that we probably just need to discuss in that meeting and make some decisions. But I don't see any reason why you can't have a sculpture on loan in place by late summer, so we can reserve that spot on the corner, as well as a line on a sculpture that you're maybe fundraising additional funds for, or something like that by the fall. I think that would be a reasonable outcome for the year.
Kendall, the list of sculptures for the permanent sculpture, are those also options for a sculpture on loan?
It could be. So the problem with sculptures on loan is artists just don't have them sitting around in their backyards. So a lot of times we were lucky with the Searles, because he actually does have a lot of stuff just sitting in his backyard in Carbondale, and his art is sort of sitting in display on his property. But I would have to do some major work on trying to figure out who has works that are available for loan, and also what the pricing would be. So yeah, I think that list is pretty comprehensive, and some of it's pretty old. We've looked at it quite a few times, so it's kind of a compendium of all the artists we've looked at. I might have some other ones that I'd like to add to it, but generally it would be just me researching what's available, and then you guys making a decision. So that's the issue with the sculpture on loan, is just, it really depends on who's rotating a sculpture from another show, or, if they have something that's on loan. Really was on display at the museum up in Loveland, and they took it and gave it to us. So that was a lucky grab, really.
Right.
I think you guys have gotten really great art for from in both pieces. So I don't see any reason why we won't find something great here. I just need to get down and do the research for it, if that's your priority.
I think that's a good idea. I mean, I think that is our priority, would be probably the sculpture on loan,
Okay.
and put the money aside for for the park, and then we can decide, when we all get together on our walk, and kind of figure out sites and that sort of thing in the park.
Okay.
I have a
Can I
question.
ask if-
Like,
Oh,
let's say
sorry.
that we do a custom piece for the permanent sculpture in Mead. I mean, traditionally, isn't the lead time like almost a year?
It can be. Yeah.
So would we
Um,
put down a deposit, or would we pay for it in full ahead of time?
Usually if you're commissioning a piece, I mean, luckily with the piece that's in front of City Hall, it was a piece that had been already finished. And so we purchased it directly. We could do that. It could be a direct purchase, but you can also do a commission piece. And then, yeah, you basically build milestones into the contract with the artist. You'll, when you have an approved proposal, then you give them some money to buy the materials, then you have a midway, and then you have a finishing budget. So usually it's about 3 or 4 different milestones to do a commission piece.
Because I feel like that I don't want to miss all the fanfare with the park being completed. And then, we're just kind of an afterthought, and then, we put up the sculpture. And then also, I really love permanent pieces because a child will come back to their community and say, oh, I remember Chainsaw, or, and it's really meaningful.
Yeah, when is the park having its fanfare?
Well, I know that they delayed the celebration, but when are they going to, it's going to be completed? And
Yeah, and I don't think we've scheduled the postponed grand opening yet. I think we're still waiting to see what happens with COVID. And the playground is still, there were some issues with the playground, so they're having to redo some stuff there. So
Okay, I
probably
saw
won't
that
be
there
until
was
after
tape
that's
about
open,
it.
and that's hopefully soon. They're working on that right now.
Yeah, unless you purchase a piece outright, I don't know that you're going to hit the deadline of the completion of the park. We're just probably not going to be able to. But normally, if you're dedicating a work of art, that can be its own fanfare. You guys could have a whole party around that as well. So
A second party. Okay.
yeah, and in fact, I always like to have separate art dedications anyway, just because I think sometimes the artwork gets lost in all the Parks and Rec people talking and mayors and things like that. It's nice to have a separate occasion for the artist to speak, and invite them to speak, and have you guys have the whole platform to talk about art, as opposed to how it just fits into the park. I think it's a nice thing to have a separate dedication.
Okay, and have our moment.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a lot of times at these openings, it's like how many dignitaries you can trot out at once, and then the artist gets lost in the whole thing. So I think it would be really nice if you could do your own separate one, and it doesn't have to be a big hoopla, but it'd be fun. I know you guys like a good party.
Well, I'm excited for our walk.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. You guys,
do we want to schedule that, or of course it's going to be weather dependent and all that sort of thing, but
do you want to do a separate from regular meeting, have a special meeting, like a work session just for the tour? Or do you want to do it like before your February meeting so that you guys can go into discussions right away afterwards?
It doesn't matter to me. I mean, it could certainly be a separate thing at a different time of day.
Yeah, I think before the meeting might be good.
I agree.
Okay.
Before the meeting? Okay.
Yes.
I'm available anytime. My only issues is picking up children from school at 3:00. So anything that you do, if I could join, it would be great to do it around like lunchtime or something like that.
Yeah, I think before pickup there at Cherry Hills, and when Kent leaves out around 3, because the traffic is intense around that intersection.
Yeah, we could do like a noonish. It would also be a little warmer. We could do a noonish tour, and then we could just move our meeting that Monday a little later to be right afterwards. We'll give you guys time to go home, assuming City Hall isn't open. We'd still have to do a Zoom meeting, but that would give you guys time to get home and then gather again to discuss your thoughts that same afternoon.
Are you talking about the 22nd of February?
Is that the last Monday? Yeah, sorry, I don't have my calendar.
Yes, that's the last Monday.
That sounds fine with me. I don't know.
Fine, that's fine with me. And not that I am the person that matters, but
Does that
So-
work for you, Kendall?
yeah, that works for me.
Okay.
12 o'clock?
Great.
So yeah, we'll do, I'll just make sure that Emily's available at 12 o'clock on February 22nd for the tour in person at City Hall. And then we'll schedule the meeting a little later that afternoon instead of in the morning, the regular meeting.
Okay, and that's a Zoom meeting, you said, right?
Correct. Yep. As far as things stand right now, yeah, still a Zoom meeting.
Okay.
Okay. That sounds good. Everybody's got that on their calendar.
Yep.
All right.
So, but before we go, just to answer some of the staff's questions, we wouldn't approach the land preservation group, like question 1, until we've had our meeting. Yeah, all these other questions we can decide at the park or when we come back. Okay.
Yeah, it would be during the regular meeting later that afternoon. You guys can talk about that stuff.
Okay. Very good.
All right. That sounds good. So that's it for the sculpture in the park. So the next item is the sculpture at Quincy Farms, the Robert Mangold piece. Where do we stand on that? Is that?
Yeah, so the reason that we haven't scheduled, you guys wanted to do a tour on site for that, and the city manager asked us to hold off. We're still trying to figure out what's going on with the property. Council is working on a couple of different things. They were going to do a survey. Now instead they're looking at doing an RFP to invite anyone else who wants to submit a proposal for management or ownership or both. So it's very much up in the air, a little bit controversial. So I think at this point, staff would prefer that we kind of put this on hold. Staff is aware, city manager is aware that you all very much value that sculpture and would want to hold on to it. The city would want to hold on to it if the Quincy Farm property changes hands at any point in the future. But right now it's very much up in the air and kind of politically sensitive. So if you guys wouldn't mind holding off on moving forward with this, we'd appreciate it.
Okay. So there's no reason to decide where it's going to go until we know if it is going to go. All right. So I guess that's it for unfinished business. The new business, the Wayne Salage really sculpture. Well, I think whether we want to purchase it or not, is that the question?
Sorry, Wayne.
Could you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
Could you hear me at all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So, okay. So I don't, with everything that we've said, with the sculptures, the purchasing really, I don't know, that was probably be out of the question financially. And what do you all think?
Sounds expensive.
Yeah, it doesn't fit in our
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it takes everything.
I love the title.
Yeah.
it does not fit.
It's a great sculpture, but I think we're probably ready to move on from it. I don't know what everyone else thinks. It's certainly nothing against the sculpture. I think people have enjoyed it and it's been great. Some people have expressed a feeling that it has gotten a bit lost in front of the building, but on the whole, I've heard positive things about it. But I don't know that we need to own it.
I think there's others out there.
I'll
Right.
follow your lead, whatever you all decide.
Yeah. I agree. I don't think we need to own it, but we probably should put Kendall on your agenda, finding us something for that spot.
Sure.
Yeah.
And what do we, and do we want to, which way do we want to go on that spot? Realism, another abstract piece? Do we want to do a temporary or a piece on loan that's realism, and that way that kind of keep some people happy, and then we can do whatever we want to do for the park? Or
I really like that idea.
I can cast my net fairly wide and see what's available. Again, if we are looking at local artists, there's not a lot that's available. I think actually if we're looking for pieces that have more realism, they may have more that's available. I think a lot of times they do multiple castings of the bronzes. We could also look for something more whimsical, something that's got some movement, some kinetic pieces. I know some artists that have that kind of thing, and they do participate in a lot of art on the streets projects. I can cast my net fairly wide, and I guess the question is, what do you want to do with the existing pad? Do we want to try to find something that fits on that exact pad, or do we want to remove it and just start new and have your public works folks pour a new pad for whatever it is? It would be preferable to me that we have a new pad poured if possible, just so that you guys have some freedom to put whatever you want in there, as opposed to something that will fit.
Can't we wait till we find the
I
sculpture?
agree. I think it'd be great to find something to fit on that pad.
That's fine.
And I like your idea of movement. I think movement there, I think that's why it kind of gets lost. People just drive by it, but with some movement there, I think it would be great.
Well, it also got lost because of the color. It blended right in with the wall and back of it.
Well, and one person that I know, you have a mangled sculpture that's possibly going to become part of your collection, but Bob Mangold did a lot of kinetic pieces too, and I could call him and Peggy and see if they have any lovely kinetic pieces. They were very colorful and could be something kind of interesting for there, since he is sort of a native son of the area. So there's what I can do is just start looking around, poking around, and give you guys an update at the next meeting.
That would be great. That would be great. And
Great.
yeah, and I think, don't worry about the pad. A pad coming in and going out is the least expensive.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's expensive, but it's
a couple hundred.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a couple $100 to you guys or to the Public Works group, but it can be kind of confining because it is a pretty narrow, you may want to, if that's a space where you are considering putting pieces sort of in
Rotation.
perpetuity, we might consider pouring a permanent pad that's more flat that you can build onto, just that you could use as the base for something else. But that's for later on down the road.
Yeah.
It's a straight line with the Cherry Hills Village School sign, with the Cherry Hills sign, and then the sculpture. There's just one straight line across each other. Some offset needs to happen.
We'll look at it when we get to the point.
And just a reminder, the commission approved putting lighting in for that spot. So there's lighting now.
Wow, that's great. I did not know that. Wonderful.
Have they put it in or they have not?
I'm trying to remember now if it was actually put in or it was just budgeted and like maybe the lines were put in. I'll double check on that.
I don't believe we've put in the lights. They were going to put them in at the end of the year, and then the Public Works Department didn't get to it. So we have it in the budget Well, it wasn't, and it was in the 2020 budget, but it wasn't moved to the 2021 budget. I'm pretty sure the only thing that they lit was Gusto.
Mhm.
But we'll
Okay.
double check with our public works director and make sure that that didn't happen and maybe we just weren't told.
Okay.
All right. Great. So you'll get back to us, Kendall, with some
Yeah,
ideas.
I'll aim for having some ideas of possible sculptures for next meeting. How about that?
Yay.
That sounds good. Okay. The next item is the next art show. I assume that's probably on hold.
Well, no, if you want an art show starting in the fall, like we have been doing, which we did with Susan Cooper's, which we did with, unfortunately, Colorado Through the Lenses, they all started in the end of October, November, around at that point in time. Ideally, because the thought process is people buy the art for a Christmas gift. We also get a commission. That's one of the tie-ins to it. And have the reception and have it through the dead of winter. But in order to do that, it takes a good 6 months to get it organized, depending on what kind of art and what the commissioners want to do. So we've had the Susan Cooper with the acrylics and that, and we've had the photography. You might want to do paintings this time, but the commission has to decide, are you going to do a featured artist? Are you going to do a call for all of any Cherry Hills artist? Is it going to be judged or a jury type show? Is it watercolors, pastels, whatever you want to do, but whatever you decide to do, you have to start thinking about it now, because we started doing the photography exhibit about this time last year, and it took the whole time to get the artists lined up, just to get it all done. So advertised, etc. So I'm just throwing that out, that if you want to do something for the end of 2021 and have an art exhibit, you're going to have to make some decisions now.
Have you ever done student art from Cherry Hills schools?
We've just started. I'm prior in Laura, you may be able to help me out. They did do one or two big shows early on before the City Hall came down. Is that correct?
Before the new City Hall, we did a couple of shows in the police department in the community room.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so since the City Hall has been built, we've only had 2 shows. Correct. And it's been the acrylic one and the photography one. So it's time for a different type of thing. So I'm just throwing that out. Do you artists within the city of Denver, students, it doesn't matter what, it's just whatever you all decide, it has to start happening. And I'm leaving the board, so it's all you.
Anybody have any suggestions as to what the next show should be?
Well, I'm part of the Colorado Watercolor Society, and I think I could work with them on getting a call for artists in the area to do some watercolor scenes. I think Beatrice Troutman is on the board there. I don't know if you guys are familiar with her work, but I could look into that.
As much as I'd like student work, I think the pressure on teachers right now is too immense for that.
And do you want it, things to think about, do you want it local artists, Colorado artists? Do you want it metro artists? Do you want it just artists in Cherry Hills? Do you want it more than one, a group show, or just single it out? Those are things you need to think about. And then how are people going to submit? Well, Kendall can give you all that kind of stuff.
Watercolors would be great. Those are things that people enjoy so much, and they could,
Mhm.
I
buy.
think the watercolor society stuff sounds really beautiful. I think that would be wonderful. You could have it themed, landscapes or something like that, or
Mhm.
portraits. Who knows? But
Well, there's so many watercolor artists in the area, and
yeah,
they used to have a lot of workshops and exhibitions, and there's just some amazing artists out there that live probably in Cherry Hills also. But
Yeah.
I think, put it out there for Colorado, any Colorado artist, but maybe we could theme it, like we did the photography show. Do something like that, Colorado related. Just an idea.
Well, I think it would be a great opportunity for you to talk about the society as well. Maybe some artists here don't even know about the society, and they'd probably like to hear more about it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And as a special event, there's the possibility that when you open the show, you could have some socially distanced plein air, watercolor lessons or something like that. I think that that's the kind of thing that you guys need to think about, is how do you tie the show into some sort of community benefit. So that would be lovely to have, if even in the new park or something like that, people could go and do plein air, bring your own easel and come on out and join us. And you could even have kids come out and stuff too. So
yes, yeah, that's a great idea.
Sounds great.
Plein
That
air.
sounds great.
I think there's a plein air watercolor Colorado Society also. I think it's based in Boulder. But there's lots of options and ideas, and so I can explore that and bring it to the next meeting.
Good.
beautiful.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, as somebody who lives in the city myself, you all live in such a beautiful landscape. Just that idea of plein air and going out and taking advantage of your outdoor spaces is it's something that not all of us have the possibility of doing. So it's a great suggestion for all the budding artists out there. So it's great.
Yeah, I like that. I like that idea.
Great. Thanks, Sarah. That would be wonderful.
You bet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have to sign off. I have another meeting in 5 minutes. So I'm gonna, if anybody has any additional questions for me, let me know via email.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Kendall.
Thanks, you
Thank
guys.
Thank you, Kendall.
Bye.
Bye.
Soon.
Before we move on to the financial update, is there anything that you would like to include in the February, or I'm sorry, not February, but the March issue of the Village Crier? Do we have anything that the commission would like to include?
Actually, if we were going to do the watercolor show, it might be a good idea to get those ideas together so we could put out the call for artists in March, maybe call for entries.
Sure. The deadline for March is February 15th. So, which is before our next meeting. So we might be able to put that in the April issue, since that'll be after the commission's next meeting.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
For April. Yeah.
Okay. I'll add that to my list for April then.
Yeah. If we do it. Yeah.
If you do it. Okay.
Okay. So I guess, are there any other reports from anyone, any of the art commission? If not, I guess we go to the financial update.
So I included a 2020 update so the commission can see where they ended up, and then also included the 2021 budget from my notes from the last meeting. The only thing that I didn't include at the top of my spreadsheet is the $750 for the expense for lighting near the Raleigh sculpture. So if we find out that the Public Works Department did not include or did not wire that at the end of last year, and that's something that the commission would like to move forward with, then I'll have to incorporate that into the budget. So I can update the 2021 budget if that's something that the commission would like me to do.
Well, I guess it is. I mean, we should, I guess the lighting would be, I guess it would be placed general so that we could use it for whatever else we put there, correct? So I think we should probably, you know, if they get the time to move forward with that part of it.
Okay. And I'll touch base with our Public Works Director today. And if they haven't done anything, what we can ask them to do is maybe space it out away from the pad a little bit in case the commission decides to go with a long pad rather than the tall pad. So they don't have to, they're not continuously moving those lights around. So I'll work with the Public Works Director and get his feedback.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be good. That'd be a good suggestion too. So,
Okay.
great. Thank you.
So then.
Anything else? I think we're,
Well, based on our conversation today, do you want me to revise the 2021 budget to include, to remove the permanent sculpture and then replace it with a sculpture on loan, or should I leave it until the commission decides for sure that that's the direction you'd like to go?
Leave it.
Leave it?
I suggest wait.
Okay,
yeah, let's wait till after our walk around and then our next meeting.
okay.
All right. I think that's it, I guess, right?
And I had just put in just a short memo advising everyone of the member terms. As Kathy said, her term is ending in May, and I don't believe she wants to be reappointed, although we would love to keep her. Is that right, Kathy?
That's right, but moving on.
So we'll be advertising our current vacancy, and then hopefully we'll get enough applications that we can fill Kathy's position pretty easily after her term ends. But just for everyone's information, that those are the terms as they stand now.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Anything else?
Who's going to send out the email to coordinate the walk with all of us and Kendall?
Oh,
I'll send that out once I make sure that Emily, our parks coordinator, is available to do that tour. I'll just double check that she's available that day, and then I'll send an email to everybody.
Okay, great.
Okay.
And because it's a working session, we don't have to advertise that the public walks with us, or do they?
We do have to advertise anytime at least three or more of you get together for anything public business related. We do advertise it, but we won't have to stream it or do meeting minutes for it. We do have to post it that that's a public meeting that people could join you if they really wanted to.
Okay.
All right. Anything else? No?
so no.
All right. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Bye.
Okay.
See everybody in February.
Everybody.
Congratulations, Pamela.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.